All right, today we're peeling back the layers on something that's really hitting the headlines in the sports world, a topic that truly resonates if you've ever followed professional football. We're talking about the profound, often invisible costs that players bear. So we're zeroing in on player welfare and specifically the growing, well, frankly, urgent concerns around chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE. And the big catalyst for this deep dive, some incredibly candid, very recent statements from a true legend of the game, former NFL player Jason Kelce.
Exactly. And our goal today is really to go beyond just the headlines. We want to extract the most, impactful insights from the sources you've provided. Think of this as your shortcut to understanding the deeper implications here. It's a complex and evolving issue, and we want to give you the context behind what you're seeing in the news.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Here's where it gets really interesting, what truly stood out to me from the sources. Jason Kelce's incredibly direct admission. He has openly expressed, and this is a quote, his, quote, strong belief that he likely has chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, from his years in football.
Right.
I mean, that's not just a casual comment, is it? It's a really stark public statement. And coming from someone who just retired, right at the top of his game, the significance of that, well, it feels huge.
It really is. And a key insight from the sources is how the sheer longevity of his career plays into this. We're talking the 13-year NFL tenure, right?
Uh-huh.
It's compounded by prior play in high school and college. What's fascinating here is how this shows that prolonged, consistent exposure, the kind of head impacts directly associated with neurodegenerative diseases like CTE. So given that extensive history, the sources make it clear it's, quote, reasonable to assume he suffers from some degree of this neurodegenerative disease.
It's a powerful reminder, this isn't necessarily about one single massive hit. It's often about years and years of smaller, repetitive trauma. Yeah, exactly. And Kelce himself, he didn't mince words, did he? He emphasized the toll the game takes on players. He's really underscoring that this isn't just about, the immediate visible injuries you see on the field. It's about the long-term kind of insidious neurological health consequences that can stick around long after a player hangs up their cleats for good. Kelce's candor definitely puts a human face on this issue. But let's connect it to the hard science. What's underpinning these concerns? So what does this all mean when we talk about the explicit link between football and this condition, CTE?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
what's truly insightful here is how the sheer volume of research has really shifted things. This has gone from being maybe a speculative concern years ago to what feels like an undeniable scientific consensus now. The sources confirm CTE has been linked to repetitive head injuries sustained over 2 decades of football. And that established connection, that's the core scientific basis for these growing concerns about player health. It's not really anecdotal anymore. It's documented, accepted reality.
Right. So given this stark reality, how is the NFL responding? The very entity at the heart of the sport. Our sources track their evolving stance, and they do note that the NFL has, in fact, acknowledged CTE as a real concern, and they are taking steps to address it. We've definitely seen some genuine efforts, like improvements in player safety protocols and advances in research and safety gear over recent years. They've certainly shifted their public approach, moving away from some of the past denials, haven't they?
They have, but this raises an important question, though, according to our sources. A critical ethical dilemma, really. Despite these safety efforts, which are commendable, the push for extended games raises ethical questions regarding player welfare. End quote. Our research points directly to these growing concerns about player health amid plans to expand the league's schedule. End quote. So you see this tension, right? It's not just theoretical. It's a fundamental conflict where the league's huge financial incentives for expansion, for more games, they often seem to inadvertently or perhaps even directly put player welfare kind of on the back burner. It really does feel like a classic case of profit potentially trumping people's long-term health.
It certainly looks that way sometimes, and what's particularly striking from our sources is how this isn't just some abstract dilemma. It has very real, tangible impacts. Think about player contracts, post-career support, all of that. Kelce's update, it serves as this crucial, very tangible reminder of the, quote, hidden costs of playing football. And these costs, they extend far beyond the big salaries and the public fame, don't they? They lead to profound, deeply personal health consequences for the players themselves. It's that invisible price tag you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. And one particularly striking detail, or maybe prediction from the sources, is the expectation that more players may speak out about their health issues, possibly accelerating discussions about reforming safety protocols in the NFL. So Kelce's public statement could actually create a significant snowball effect, potentially forcing the conversation to, well, new levels. It also reinforces the call, quite strongly actually, for more comprehensive safety measures in the sport, which kind of indicates the current efforts, while they're acknowledged, they might not be sufficient, not enough to fully protect the athletes long term.
And thinking bigger picture, this isn't just about football, is it, when you step back? The broader implications touch on how we, as a society, how we value and manage the well-being of individuals in any high-impact profession. It really makes you think about our collective responsibility, doesn't it? Okay, we've covered a lot of ground today, from, one player's very personal revelation to the systemic challenges facing the sport itself, to maybe quickly distill the core takeaways. Jason Kelce's candor has undeniably brought the long-term health risks of football, particularly CTE, into sharp focus for everyone. You can't really ignore it now.
Absolutely. And while the NFL has made strides in acknowledging and addressing this issue, you give credit where it's due. The continued push to expand the league schedule, add more games, it presents this significant ethical dilemma. For the sport, for its athletes, it just highlights that persistent tension between, well, business goals and genuine player safety.
So here's something to leave you with, a final thought to consider. As our understanding of the human body, the brain, and the long-term impact of extreme sports continues to grow, what is our collective responsibility? As fans, as a society, how do we prioritize the health and safety of athletes? And maybe more importantly, how might that prioritization actually reshape the future of the games we love to watch?